Here's a simple code snippet for initializing Wayfinder with the fastest ping as routing strategy. Let's say we put this at 100 milliseconds and we'll see what happens, right? So you do not index.js again. Let's see if there is a gateway that will actually reply under 100 milliseconds. Okay, now we can see an error happening, right? Saying, let me see. Yeah, failed to route request after max retries, right? So there is no gateway that replied in under 100 milliseconds. And this is what I wanted to show you in that some cases your gateways might not respond when you want them to, or with depending on your specification. But then if you really want to use Wayfinder to its full potential, where you have this peace of mind, there is a new routing strategy that's called composite routing strategy. So essentially, this is a very, very essential routing strategy if you want to deploy application and have peace of mind, knowing that you have a fallback whenever such a case appears. So let's talk about that. And I'm going to say here, composite strategy, like this, and it's no autocomplete. Autocomplete is here plain, so it's called composite routing strategy, and this accepts a parameter called strategies. And so essentially what strategies is here, it's an array of other strategies that you can combine together in order to have that reliability that you want, right? So let's say, for example, if you want to use the fastest ping routing strategy, but then if the fastest ping routing strategy doesn't work, like in this case, you can rely on other strategies, and you can construct these strategies however you want to have that peace of mind, right? So in this case, I'm only going to show one example, but just know you can extend that depending on your need, which is a very interesting thing about Wayfinder is we have the default, and you can do whatever you want from there depending on how you want to have it. So here I'm going to have two strategies that I'll define. Actually, let me just pick this as one strategy. I'll have strategy here, then I'll have strategy 2. I'll name it that just for to have a simple naming. You can name them however you want. And this is going to be maybe I'll select new random routing strategy as my fallback. And here gateways provider, same like that. But then you're like, oh, wait a second, here I had a limit of 5, maybe I want to increase the limit to 10 in this second strategy, and it depends on whatever you want. You can actually increase them, reduce them, keep them the same way. It's all in your hands. The power is all in your hands. And then these strategies here are going to be used in the order they are added to the strategies array. So in my case, I want strategy to be my first strategy I use. In case it fails, I can now fall back to strategy 2. And I need to delete this from here. With this simple change, I can already use composite strategy here and have that peace of mind knowing my application has many different routing strategy to fall back on if my main strategy doesn't work. And if I clear this, I try again, this should work just well even if the first strategy doesn't work. So let's see how it's going to work. Okay, so you can see here the first strategy failed. All gateways failed to respond, which means this fastest ping routing strategy failed. But something interesting happened later on. It's saying trying strategy, which is the second strategy that we have. But then you can actually do something even more interesting. You're like, hey, maybe I need to add a third strategy here. That's going to be, I'll just name it strategy 3 to be honest, for the simplicity. Yeah. And maybe this, you don't want to have this type of strategy, but you're like, hey, maybe lastly, I want to fall back on a static strategy, right? Static routing strategy. And this static routing strategy is going to use it's going to use arrive.net, sorry, as the primary gateway. So I can just remove this. I won't need that. So what will happen here is I'll use you're essentially what you're doing is you're adding these blocks together to have a robust routing strategy no matter what. You're like, hey, I want to first use the fastest gateway that responds. If no gateway responds, I want to maybe fall back to random routing strategy or round robin strategy, depending on what you need. Like, and if that fails as well, maybe I just want to have a static routing strategy that defaults to array.net. And this way, no matter what happens with your strategies, one of these strategies is going to work. And what you need to do is you need to add your third strategy here. Because if you don't add it on the strategies array and a composite routing strategy, it won't work. But before we run this to confirm if everything is going to work as expected, I think here you don't do this, but instead you do a new URL, if I'm not mistaken. Then you can pass this string in here. So let's try that and see if it works. You do again node index.js. And yeah, we're having an error saying, let me see, invalid URL. So let's see what went wrong here. We have static routing strategy. Oh, this isn't supposed to be gateways. This is supposed to just be gateway, because we want to use one static gateway. So if I do that, I think everything is going to work just as before. So I do node index.js, and yeah, as you can see, everything is now working. And at the end of the day, we shall find a gateway here. Yep, you can see successfully strategy succeeded. Selected gateway is node array.xyz. And as easy as that, you can have this sort of extra robust Wayfinder composite, right? Where you have many different strategies that can be used in case one fails, rather than just leaving your application with errors if your selected routing strategy doesn't work for some reason. Yeah, and this is how you create a very robust sort of routing strategy that you can rely on, regardless of what happens with the nodes that are selected.